Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got a story that'll grab you by the heart and not let go. Picture this, I'm standing in the middle of a chaotic Indian street, horns blaring, cows strolling by like they own the place, and a guy with a cart full of spices yelling something I can't understand. I'm from a quiet little town in England, think grey skies, tea at 4 p.m., and the most exciting thing being a squirrel in the garden. And now, I'm drowning in color, noise, and life. This is the story of how I visited India, got hit with the biggest cultural shock of my life, and came back with a suitcase full of memories, and a belly full of the best food I've ever tasted. Buckle up because this journey's wild, beautiful, and unforgettable. Let's dive in. It all started with a random email from my uni friend, Priya. She'd moved back to Delhi after graduation and wrote, "Ellie, you've got to see India. Come for Diwali, it'll blow your mind." I'd always been curious, India felt like this far-off dreamland of elephants and curry, but I'd never left Europe. So I said yes, booked a flight from London to Delhi, and 3 weeks later, I was on a plane, clutching a guidebook I hadn't even opened. I landed at 3 a.m., bleary-eyed, and stepped into a wall of heat and chaos at Indira Gandhi Airport. Priya was waiting, her grin wide as the horizon, and she hugged me like we'd never been apart. "Welcome to the madness," she laughed, and oh boy, she wasn't kidding. Delhi hit me like a tidal wave. We piled into an auto rickshaw, a tiny, buzzing thing that darted through traffic like a wasp on a mission. The streets were alive, motorbikes weaving past ox carts, women in saris brighter than the sun, and kids chasing each other through dust clouds. My first cultural shock. The noise. Back home, silence is golden. Here, it's a symphony of horns, shouts, and temple bells. Priya took me to Old Delhi's Chandni Chowk, a market so packed I could barely breathe. Stalls overflowed with silk scarves, brass lamps, and trays of sweets that glistened like jewels. A vendor shoved a hot, crispy samosa into my hand. "Free," he insisted, smiling with teeth stained red from pawn. I bit in, and the spicy potato filling exploded in my mouth. I was hooked. I grabbed a little clay dia lamp from a stall as my first keepsake, its rough edges a reminder of that wild first day. Next, Priya dragged me to a street food crawl. We ate pani puri, these crunchy little balls you stuff with spiced water and pop in your mouth. I fumbled, water dripping down my chin, and Priya cackled as a crowd of kids cheered me on. Then came butter chicken, rich and creamy, with naan so soft I could have cried. England's idea of curry. A pale shadow compared to this, an old man at the stall, with a beard like white cotton, saw my delight, and handed me a tiny spoon etched with a lotus flower. "For your kitchen," he said. I tucked it into my bag, already falling for India's generosity. Diwali was the real game changer. Priya's family welcomed me into their home like I was one of them. Her mum, Auntie Reena, draped me in a turquoise sari, silk slipping through my fingers like water, and dotted my forehead with red kumkum. "Your family now," she said, and I nearly teared up. That night, the city erupted. Firecrackers lit the sky, kids ran around with sparklers, and every house glowed with oil lamps. We ate laddus, sweet, sticky balls of heaven, and danced to Bollywood tunes in the courtyard. Priya's little cousin, Arjun, tied a friendship bracelet on my wrist, its threads red and gold. "Don't take it off," he ordered, and I promised I wouldn't. The festival wasn't just lights, it was love, chaos, and a joy so loud it drowned out my jet lag. From Delhi, we took a train to Rajasthan. The journey was its own adventure, vendors hopping on at every stop, selling chai in clay cups you smash when you're done. The tea was sweet, spiced with cardamom, and I kept one of those cracked cups as a memento. Jaipur, the Pink City, was next, and it stole my breath. The Hawa Mahal's honeycomb windows glowed in the sunset, and the amber fort loomed like a fairy tale castle. We rode an elephant up its ramp. Her name was Lakshmi, and her trunk brushed my leg like a hello. At a market, I haggled badly for a pair of jhumka earrings, silver bells that jingled with every step. The seller, a woman with eyes like coal, threw in a tiny peacock feather for luck. India's beauty was sinking into me, layer by layer. Then came Varanasi, a city so old it feels eternal. We arrived at dawn, and Priya insisted we see the Ganges. The riverbank was a swirl of pilgrims, priests, and flowers floating on the water. We took a boat, the oarsmen chanting softly as the sun rose, turning the river gold. I'd never felt anything so spiritual. It was like the air itself was praying. A sadhu with dreadlocks down his back blessed me, pressing a rudraksh bead into my palm. For peace, he said. I held it tight, a piece of Varanasi's soul to carry home. That night, we watched the Ganga Aarti, hundreds of lamps swaying to bells and chants. I was an outsider, but I felt woven into it all. South India was next, Kerala. We flew to Kochi, and the shift was unreal, lush green instead of desert gold. We stayed on a houseboat in the backwaters, gliding past palm trees and villages where kids waved from the shore. The food. Oh my gosh, coconut fish curry, tangy and melt in your mouth, with appams like fluffy pancakes. The boatman, Anil, taught me to fish with a net, and when I caught a tiny silver thing, he laughed and cooked it for lunch. He gave me a shell from the water's edge, pearly and smooth. Kerala's gift, he said. I added it to my growing collection. Our last stop was Mumbai. The city was a beast, towering skyscrapers next to slums, Bollywood posters everywhere, and the sea crashing against Marine Drive. We ate vada pav, spicy potato fritters in bread, from a stall where the vendor sang as he cooked. A street kid, maybe 10, saw me struggling with the heat, and handed me a fan made of palm leaves. Cool down, Didi, he grinned, calling me sister. I gave him a few rupees, and he ran off, leaving me with another treasure. At Gateway of India, I stood by the Arabian Sea, wind in my hair, and realized I'd stopped counting the shocks. I was too busy living them. The trip wasn't flawless. I got lost in a Delhi alley once, phone dead, until a rickshaw driver named Sanjay rescued me, refusing payment because guests are gods here. I burned my tongue on too spicy biryani, and Priya laughed for days. But those hiccups, they made it real. When I flew back to England, my suitcase rattled with keepsakes, the diya, the spoon, the bracelet, the cup, the earrings, the feather, the bead, the shell, the fan. Each one held a story, the food that warmed me, the festivals that dazzled me, the people who opened their hearts. Back in my quiet town, India lingered. I'd sip chai and hear train whistles, wear the jhumkas and feel the market's pulse. The cultural shock faded into awe. I'd gone expecting curry and chaos, but found a kaleidoscope of kindness, flavor, and life. My box of treasures sits by my window, and sometimes, I pick up the rudraksh bead and close my eyes. I'm back on that boat, the Ganges singing, and I know I left a piece of me in India, and brought a piece of it home. I started to notice the little things, how the morning light hit my kitchen just like the sunrise over the Ganges, or how the scent of cardamom in my tea reminded me of that dusty Delhi market. I even tried to recreate my own butter chicken, but let's be honest, nothing beats the real deal. Priya and I kept in touch, sending each other photos, stories, and the occasional voice note where she'd still call me Didi like I'd never left. She'd ask, "Did you wear the bracelet? Did you keep the fan?" And yes, I did. There were days when I felt like I'd been living two lives, one foot in England, the other in the vibrant chaos of India. I'd look at my reflection, wearing my jhumkas, and smile, remembering the laughter of street kids, the warmth of Auntie Rena's hug, and the sparkle of Diwali lights. It wasn't just a trip, it was a transformation. Months passed, but India never left me. I'd sit by the window, watching the world go by, and my mind would drift back to that chaotic Delhi street, the aroma of street food, the swirl of colors during Diwali, and the serenity of the Ganges at dawn. It felt like I'd brought home not just souvenirs, but pieces of souls I'd met along the way. I started collecting little things, photos, postcards, even small spices to recreate the flavors. Every time I opened my drawer, I'd find the tiny peacock feather, the rudraksh bead, and the fan made of palm leaves. They weren't just objects, they were chapters of a story that rewrote my soul. One day, I was sipping chai at my favorite cafe when I realized something. I didn't need to be in India to feel its magic. It was in me now, in the way I laughed, the way I embraced change, and the way I saw beauty in the ordinary. I'd gone expecting to find adventure, but I'd discovered myself. So here I am, telling you this story, not just about a trip, but about how a country with a heartbeat louder than any city I'd ever known changed the way I see the world. And maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire you to take that leap too.